Marketing is the story we tell and the life we lived and the change we make in the world. Your brand is not your logo, and your brand is not how many people notice you. Everyone has a personal brand, whether you work on it or not. And your personal brand is, what do I expect from you when the phone rings? What do I expect from you when I know you're coming over? What do I expect from you if you tell me you are working on something? These expectations, these promises, that's your brand. You have one. So now the question is, what do you want to stand for? And do you want to earn the benefit of the doubt?
That's one of my favorite things about you. We've talked about it before, but I'll bring it up again, is this willingness in being okay. And I wonder, does this happen as you mature? Because I feel like I'm growing into this a little bit more, but I'm not there. What is this being okay by saying, it's not for them, it's not for you? And you seem to be very comfortable in your own skin saying, not for them. It's okay. Like, and how do we get closer to that?
So I was one of the first people to sell advertising on the internet, and I made thousands of sales calls. I have been in every office on both sides of 6th Avenue years and years and years ago. And when the stakes were as high as they were in 1993 and 1994, no was really hard to hear. When you said to yourself, I have something here that I can prove is better than what you are doing, that you pretend that you care about this, you have plenty of money, and you don't want to do this, and you're avoiding it simply because you don't want to listen and you're afraid. It was very, very hard to hear. And then I had a revelation. It happened at a sales call. I brought my VP of sales along. And these people, because we could get a meeting with anybody, because if your job was head of new media, you had to meet with people like me. And these people are just jerking us around with one objection after another. And David was ready to launch into yet another response. And I closed my briefcase. I had a briefcase. I closed my briefcase and I said, you're probably right. This isn't for you. We're not going to waste your time. And we got up to leave. And they chased us into the hall and they hired us. Because some people, this is a great Monty Python sketch, are just there for the argument. Some people are trolls. Some people are in the business of saying no. Why would you want to waste your time with them, right? Should Nobel Prize winner Bob Dylan run after people who are listening to rap music and say, no, don't you understand? And start singing Blowing in the Wind to them? There's plenty of people who want to go hear Bob Dylan. Go play there. And what we have to acknowledge is that the mass is over. That I was just reading about the worst TV show in the history of TV, which I had never seen, fortunately, called Cavemen. And it had higher ratings before it was canceled than almost any show on television today. And the reason is, even the worst show, when there are 3 TV networks, did better than a great show when there's a million TV networks. So if you're going to do this work, shun the non-believers. Just do it for the people who care. That's enough to change the world.
What about for the person who's really early in their career saying, easy for you to say, Seth, you have millions and millions of fans who do believe, I have 0 or 1. What about to that person?
I would challenge you to have 10. Yep. If there are 10 people who would miss you if you were gone, if there are 10 people who talk about what you do, you will have no trouble getting to 100. The problem people run into is they don't have 10. It's not that they don't have 100 million. They don't have 10. Go do work that will get you 10 fans and then get back to me.
Yep. Speaking of that, we've been talking about you being an original, a noticer. I think that's part of your brand, and you've defined brand as a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. And I want to take this to the personal branding element, regardless of where you work or what you do. I don't know if you've consciously worked on your personal brand, if it's something you think about, or it just kind of has happened. For that person who is thinking about that as because now with online content creation, when you're selling a book deal, they're always asked about what's your platform, basically saying how many books can you sell, because we're not going to do any marketing for you. So that type of thing, what advice do you give to somebody who's thinking about building their thing, whatever that thing happens to be, where there's a brand element to it?
Okay, there's so much to decode here.
Okay.
Let's get clear about the words.
Okay.
When a publisher says, I'm not going to do your marketing for you, what they're actually saying is, I'm not going to do your promotion for you.
Right.
Promotion and marketing are different things. Marketing is the story we tell and the life we lived and the change we make in the world. Your brand is not your logo, and your brand is not how many people notice you. A lot of people who are busy hustling online think they're building their brand, but all they're doing is earning a reputation as someone who hustles online. That's not your brand. So I wrote the first book on personal branding. Tom Peters wrote a better book, which is why you've heard of his book, The Brand Called You, and not the book I wrote with Jay Levinson called Get What You Deserve, now out of print. But everyone has a personal brand, whether you work on it or not. And your personal brand is, what do I expect from you when the phone rings? What do I expect from you when I know you're coming over? What do I expect from you if you tell me you are working on something? These expectations, these promises, that's your brand. You have one. So now the question is, what do you want to stand for? And do you want to earn the benefit of the doubt? If you want to make your living doing things like Ryan and I do, you have to build a different sort of platform and brand than a typical human who just wants to make sure that their next gig is better than their last gig, right? But these are intentional choices. When you show up to borrow someone's attention, do you hand back that attention better than you found it? Have you earned, as I said, the benefit of the doubt? And what I wrote about in Permission Marketing is, can you find actual followers and students as opposed to just occasionally interrupting people? As old and antiquated and throttled by Gmail as email is, email at least is this persistent connection to people who want to hear from you. And there are new versions of it, but you need real followers, people who would miss you if you were gone. That is the essence of building a brand that's worth something.